All right, so joining us for the interview this weekend, we've got Rob Ray, host of Secular Yakking, and joining him is his co-host, Amy. Sorry, I don't know the last name, Amy. I'm sure I don't want to assume it'd be the last name of your husband, or...
It is.
Oh, look at you guys, traditional couple. No.
Aren't we, though?
Yeah, they can't get much more traditional than us.
Right?
We even have 2.5 kids, technically.
Oh, so completely nuclear. Yeah, not nuclear. Nuclear.
Nuclear.
Yeah, I was listening to your guys' episode, and like I said, these are the guys from Secular Yakking. You should go check out their show. I was listening to your guys' one of your latest episodes, and you were talking about how gender roles just kind of fell upon you guys, even though you're completely the kind not to enforce that kind of thing. It just kind of happened. That's the way it happened to be,
Yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of really odd.
Yeah.
But it works for us.
Yeah, it does. Because I've always been out there doing the work, and she's pretty much always been at home taking care of the kids.
Well, it just worked out that way. I mean, we have 3 kids. Daycare was not in the cards because of how much that costs with 3 kids.
Yeah, no shit.
And so, stay-at-home moms, they're now older teenagers, and it works out that way. And it's so odd because we're very 50 style, stay-at-home wife, working husband, blah, blah, blah. And yet we're nothing like that, like as far as outside of that,
No, we're not. We're pretty much activists who stand up for other people's right to live however they want.
Live, yeah.
Yep.
My wife and I, we do the whole split thing where she works days, I work nights. So we're like ships passing in the night when it comes to the relationship, but the kids always have somebody around. So it's we got to do what we got to do to make ends meet in the world these days. Really.
Yep.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's difficult when you're a single income family, but you make it work.
Yeah, and I'm not looking forward to they start like all year school in the fall. Like I've had little ones for the longest time, and so it's like I'm going to drop them off in the morning, and it's going to be like, okay, now what do I do?
Well, I'm looking forward to in a year and a half, no more school.
Oh,
that's right. Our oldest graduates this year, and our twins will graduate next year.
You guys have twins too. I have twins.
So that's why I say that's why I say we have 2.5 kids.
Yeah.
Well, you gotta buy one, get one free.
It really is that way with twins too, especially if you're lucky enough for them to like each other. So like you kind of get them as a unit, and so it's like 1.5.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. Uh-huh.
So anyway,
when they were younger.
Yeah, I'm sure mine are starting to get to that point. And sorry for you people that are not liking talking about families and stuff, but we just happen to be family people, and it's nice to meet other folks that have twins and everything. But it's really interesting that like they're getting to that age where they want to have their individuality a little bit, and like it's like 5-year-old individuality. So it's like, I want to be Harry Potter, you be Hermione, and it's like it's really innocent right now, and I can just see it getting worse and worse as they get older. And oh boy, that's going to be fun.
Absorb it while you can, because it's lovely. Then I miss it. I really, really miss it, because as teenagers, oh my God, it just goes downhill after puberty.
Oh man. Yeah, I'm going to need an insulated room to scream in. I'm sure.
Oh yeah.
So the podcasting studio will be coming one of these days.
Yeah, you put them in the insulated room and you go about your business.
So anyway, Rob, you're the national director for the E Pluribus Unum, the original motto project, and that's pretty damn cool, because I was like, oh, that's what he does. I've paid attention to the organization and how it's been doing things, and I enjoy the fact that you guys are trying to get the "In God We Trust" shit off of the back of cops' cars, because it's just face-tearingly annoying to see that on the back of police cars. Like, oh, in God you trust? Well, how about some justice? Can I have some justice?
Yeah, you have no idea how annoying it actually is. Because not only do we oppose it, right, and we go to the sheriff or police department and tell them, hey, we oppose this. We also inundate their Facebook posts.
Yes, and he gets banned often.
Yes.
Even though that's illegal, by the way.
Yeah, I'm currently banned from 7 sheriff departments and 2 police departments from their Facebook pages. Well, I can't do anything because I'm not constituents.
Oh.
I have no active, how did they put it? I don't have an active relationship with them.
Locally.
Right. So if I lived anywhere near them, I could sue them.
Well,
but I don't.
So what do I have to do? Do I have to fly out there and like break something for me to have this relationship with you guys, or what? But you also hail from one of my favorite states in the Union, Washington. I've been trying like crazy to get my wife to move out to the Pacific Northwest for a long time, but She likes Utah a bit too much, and I can't convince her otherwise. We went for a trip in Seattle, and I fell in love. I love that place.
Yeah.
I mean,
I could see that.
The city's completely different than where you'd probably be living. I've got friends in Everett. I've got lots of friends in Bremerton and stuff, and so it's not quite the same as being in SeaTac, But
yeah, we live about an hour northeast of Seattle.
Yeah,
so we're right at the edge of the Seattle metro area.
Yeah, we're at the base of the Cascade Mountains.
Oh, okay. I have a friend that I think grew up around that way, and I'm being vague about it because I don't know if they want me to release their information out there. But
right.
Be like, do you have his social security number? Do you have his blood type? So anyway, tell us a little bit about your guys' show. Feel free to plug away. I mean, this is an open forum for everybody, and I just like having conversations with people. So
yeah. So the show is mainly about stuff.
Well, it kind of came about because that's really helpful, babe. It kind of came about because since the dawn of our time, we've always been just kind of yakking at each other in the car. We used to go for long drives and just talk and talk and talk. And I guess one day we kind of had the idea that we should do it. Well, actually, let me back that up a little bit. He had the brainy idea to start a podcast all by himself on some boring thing. I don't know what the hell that was.
It was the Original Motto Project stuff.
No, it wasn't.
Yes, it was. I was going to talk about Original Motto Project stuff because we were just really...
Oh, it sounded so much boringer than that.
It was so much more boring. It was horrible. Yeah, I put myself to sleep.
Yeah, and I said, I, as much as I did not want to do that with him, that was his thing. I couldn't bear the thought of him going on by himself. I'm like, this is going to be horrible. And then I kind of got him away from that idea, and we said, you know what, we should talk about current events and our thoughts on them. I said, that's basically what we've always done for years. That's what we could do on the show or something. And, that way it's, news that, some people have heard, and then there's topics that some people haven't heard, and then we just give our opinions and argue about it. Although most of the time we don't really argue.
No, occasionally we do, but not often.
Yeah, but I'm always yelling at you about your chipping on the words and whatnot.
Yeah, that's what I do. Yeah, that was an interesting night. I had scheduled my first episode to go live on Blog Talk Radio.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and she came in like 2 hours before the beginning. So, what are you going to talk about? And she's like, no, you're not doing that.
No. It was terrible.
So, in less than 2 hours, I rebranded and redid the entire show.
We do have a little bit of a lightning round of questions that we like to get to just because it's kind of fun just to, throw a couple of questions at people. So, you guys have been to our fair state of Utah. We talked about that prior to the interview. You stayed out here in the Logan Tremont area, right?
Yep.
Did you guys ever go to the cheese factory?
Yes.
I think we did.
Yeah, we did. Yeah, the Cache Valley cheese.
Yeah, there you go. Amazing. Yeah, they got good cheese up here. For some reason, when our show first started out, one of the panelists on the show, she was a fromagier, so she was a cheesemonger. So for some reason, we're inexplicably linked to cheese talk. For some reason, I don't know why, but it's hilarious. So, what's that?
I was just saying it's not even Wisconsin. I live there, and they talk about cheese all the time.
They're just a bunch of cheeseheads, though.
Well, cheese it's just amazing. It's great stuff. So, have you guys been atheist all your life, or did you find your way out later on in life, or?
It's kind of a mix.
Okay.
I don't think I ever really believed. I had bouts of pseudo belief, is what I call it. Going to church for the community thing, but not really ever really believing.
Yeah. But your grandfather was a Southern Baptist preacher, so your mom had to grow up in that, and she was more rebellious.
Yeah, my parents never talked about it. Right? Yeah.
Yeah, right.
The only time we went to church is when we went over and stayed at the grandparents' house for the weekend, and then we had to go to church. So Baptist preacher, the given. Of course, he was fun to watch.
Oh yeah. Some of the greater Southern Baptist orators out there, whenever they just go on their whole fire and brimstone, hellfire kind of chats and stuff. Yeah, I come from a very foot washing Baptist kind of family, so we're deeply Southern Baptist on my side of the family, and so glad we got to Utah and that kind of just washed away.
Yeah, I've looked for videos of him, but I can't find any.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, he was on TV in the local area for years, but there's no videos. I can't find him.
Oh really? I didn't know that.
Yeah, sucks. Anyway.
What about you, Amy?
It was different. I was raised Catholic. My mother wasn't so religious as my father's side, but they separated early. It was more because of from my neighbors and stuff, and I would go to church and Sunday school with them. And then my mom married another Catholic guy, and that's when I wind up having to go to Catholic school and yada yada yada. But the funny thing is even during Sunday school, I would ask questions, and all they would do is kind of, being a young kid, would divert me in another direction and get me to get off that subject because they wouldn't answer my questions. And typical, don't ask that question. Here, come look at this shiny thing over here. So, and unfortunately, that kind of stuff works on a little kid. But so pretty much my whole life, even though I was going to Catholic school and Sunday school and all that, I just never really bought the whole thing. It always had this confusion in the back of my head, I guess, that stuff just didn't make sense. But I figured, I was little, what do I know? But as like a teenager, we didn't do the church thing. I moved around a lot, and so kind of stepped away from it for a while. And then when Robert and I got together when we were 19, we didn't do any of the church thing or anything like that. But we did start looking for like-minded people, because we were really starting to think in the atheist way, but we didn't know. I guess you could say didn't really know of atheism so much.
Yeah, we played around with we played around with like Wicca a little bit.
Yeah, we just were like testing the waters and looking around.
A little bit of this, a little bit of that. And we finally landed about 13 years ago, we finally landed and said, hey, I think we're actually atheists.
Is it that long ago?
Yeah, it's been a while.
Yeah, I know that when we were in Utah,
I was an open atheist in Utah.
No, we weren't.
No, I was open. I just wasn't.
No, I was going to say
I just wasn't active.
Right. We knew how we thought. We just didn't know what it was called, I guess you could say.
Yeah.
And he had lost his job there, and not being a Mormon. Well, guess what? You're not getting a job, so we wind up having to move. And the couple of states that we lived in before we got here to Washington, it was the same thing, looking for like-minded people. And it wasn't really until we got here, of course, the internet got really popular by then. That we found like-minded people, and there's so much more of that here.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's when we figured out, hey, we're actually atheists. Oh, and we're a humanist.
Yeah.
So I'm like, oh, that's what we are.
Yeah. So we found our little spot.
Right.
I'm kind of lucky in the regard that I have a federal job, and that I can be quite open about my atheism and not have to worry about repercussions or anything. I could only imagine how fucking hard it would be to try to get a job and not be Mormon in the state. I mean, I've worked for different various contractors and stuff for a long time. So I mean, they could, if they wanted to, be that kind of person where they get rid of you for religious beliefs and not have to worry about it in the state. But luckily, I've never had to roll the dice with like a Mormon employer. So thank goodness for that.
Yeah. Yeah, I got hired on to come run restaurants out there to a non-Mormon employer.
Oh, okay.
Right.
He was an import too.
Yeah.
So, and that's how I got to move to Utah, and then I lost that job, and then no one would hire me.
Yeah, 2 years later, and because everyone's Mormon there, if you're not part of the group, you're not going to get a job.
Even if you know the secret handshake.
Right, and wear the right underwear.
Yeah. So I guess that leads me organically into the next question. What's your honest opinion about the LDS Church? Because this is HQ. So
yeah. I love the way the tabernacle looks. It's really awesome. It's very well made.
Very pretty.
It is.
Very expensive.
But other than that, I think the whole thing's bullshit. I don't know what else to say. It's more bullshit than the Bible. So
yeah, and I just love that I have family that are still very much in the church, and I want to talk to them sometimes and be like, your whole thing's built on a house of cards that is like built on top of a pit of quicksand. Like you would have a better foundation for your religion if you built it on the same castle that they did in Monty Python and the Holy Grail. Where they had to sink the castle underneath the castle to provide the stability for it. And it's just, it's like your whole basis of your belief is that, this book is true. Therefore our book is true because we also found these plates. And it's like, oh, come on, guys.
Yeah, I know. It's ridiculous.
Yeah. The stuff they believe is like, out there.
When we first lived out in part of Utah, we lived in this little apartment complex for a little while. And across the street was the missionaries' apartment.
Oh boy.
where the new missionaries that came to Utah would stay for a while.
Oh man.
Oh.
They had a ball with him.
Yeah, as soon as they found out that I was an atheist or atheist-like, I became the training zone.
Yep, they would send him over to our house to talk with him.
Yeah.
Because if they could talk to him, they could handle any door, I guess they thought.
Pretty much. They never convinced me for some odd reason.
Yeah, lucky enough for me, I live in the suburbs, and I think our house has the giant X on it from the ward that we don't get bothered with it so much anymore.
Ours does now.
Yeah.
Yes,
but I do get hit up by the J-dubs every once in a while, so that's always fun. They're like, atheist? I'm like, yeah, atheist. And they're like, huh. Like they've never ran into it before. They're expecting Mormon or something, and so... Oh, man, that's fun. So are you guys imbibers? Do you guys partake? Do you have drinks? Because if not, this question doesn't make sense. But
I drink ciders occasionally, but that's really about it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
And Amy will drink some wine occasionally. We're not really heavy drinkers.
Oh,
I mean,
I drink wine and hard liquor.
Yeah, two ciders or 2 beers, and I'm pretty much done. I'm out for the evening.
We're pretty lightweights on that.
Well, the only reason I bring it up is because I like to ask people what their favorite is, if they have one of their favorites. Because I also run a Facebook group that's a beer aficionado group that's always fun to talk with people, because you can kind of divine a little bit out of people based on like what their favorite kind of drinks are, and so
yeah. I can see that.
I mean, if you have somebody that you're doing an interview with, their favorite drink is a white trash Russian, you might be able to gauge them a little bit differently than someone's like, oh, I drink martinis. But not that important. So I guess the last question I have for you guys in the lightning round here is, what is the most like tooth grinding thing that people of faith do around you that you just can't stand? That puts you on a bit on the spot. I mean, we've gotten before like the I'll pray for you, the sanctimony is like, oh, well, I feel sorry for you then. That kind of...
I actually say that to them.
Oh, good.
I feel sorry for them. Really.
We don't generally get a lot of that out here. I get more of that on Facebook.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's
my biggest thing is when they bug me with their stuff.
Yeah, when they come to my door.
Do what you want to do, but leave me alone.
When they come to my door
and mess with my kids, that really ticks me off.
Yeah, don't just assume my kid's a Satan worshiper because she's wearing black today.
Yeah,
that did happen.
Oh, and she had a bunch of drawings of skulls on, with her, because she was into drawing skulls at the time, and we had some Jehovah's come to the door, and they didn't think we were home. And when my kids, they're on the porch and told her that, my parents aren't home, I was sitting on the couch just laying, resting, and I was listening to it, and her octave of her voice got higher. And from what I understand, she got very smiley, and she was all excited and just started going off, talking, doing all kinds of stuff with my kids when she found out that we weren't home, and giving my kids her personal number, her personal email, and just trying to save them. And then one of my twins came up the walkway with drawings of skulls and wearing black and stuff. And she's like, what did she say? Something about, are you doing this because
you're angry? You're
angry, or you're sad, or you're basically the parents are making them have to live in a atheist household, because we have bumper stickers all over our cars. You can't miss them. Yeah. So they kind of like had a ball, and that really pissed me off, because I'm sorry, as an adult, when you have children that are standing on the door and tell you, no, my parents are not home, the first thing as an adult you do is say, okay, I'll come back later. Yeah. You don't stand there and keep talking to children. You don't put your foot in the door, Right. Yeah. And it's kind of hard to describe how giddy she sounded. And it was really, that I think burned me the most. It kind of was really freaky how excited she got that, she had these 3 teenage girls that, no adults around in an atheist household, and she can just start trying to save their souls, basically, is what she was doing.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that's my biggest pet peeve, is when they pull something like that. Leave me alone, do what you want, but leave me alone.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah, and especially leave my fucking kids out of it. I hate it when I get that from the mother-in-law every once in a while. She's like, can the girls come with me to church this weekend? And I'm like, no, they got better things to do with 3 hours of their day. For those that listening outside of Utah don't realize that the LDS church runs 3 hours long.
Yes.
Especially with all the meetings and everything they have to do.
Horrible, yeah.
Yeah, I've heard lots of stories. I've heard lots of stories from ex-Mormons and whatnot, because we've had ex-Mormons in our groups.
I've heard stories from actual Mormons.
Well, that too.
Oh, and it's dull.
Yeah.
Nothing like the preachers that you guys were talking about with the wonderful storytelling and the "you're going to hell." No, nothing like that. No.
No,
it's a lot of right hand raising, and people are in certain callings and blah 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 blah.
It's crazy Catholic church.
Yeah, pretty much. Less kneeling though. I went to a Catholic service one time in the
kneeling.
Up, down, up.
The kneeling
down.
is exhausting. Or going to an Italian Catholic wedding, that's exhausting.
It's like you're getting married to Jesus.
What it seemed like.
Like he's going to be that little buffer in between you guys when you're making love. It's like, oh, ew.
I was just thinking that. Creepy.
It's disgusting.